War-Mantle was an appropriately named episode of The Bad Batch, that's for sure. We've been seeing the transition from the Republic into the Empire the entire series, mostly in terms of policy and philosophy, but now we're seeing it visually as well. At least on the remote planet of Darrow, stormtroopers are being trained by clone commandos to take over as the primary Imperial soldiers. The story begins with a clone on the run from other clones, sending a distress signal out to his old friend Rex. But he's dealing with some unknown problems of his own, so he asks the batch to rescue the now captured clone. Again, they all have that little debate they've been having about what the right move is. Do they look out for themselves and perform their current job for Sid, or do they drop what they're doing and help someone who needs them? Obviously, Omega is the voice of reason, arguing to put their gifts to good use for someone else, so they head off to Darrow. But it was a fun debate, with Wrecker acknowledging the good points made by everyone. They track the clone to a secret Imperial installation built inside a mountain, which is already just a classic Saturday cartoon villain kind of thing to do, but this is where things start to really get fun. I especially loved all the musical cues throughout the rest of the episode. Kiner took a bunch of Death Star and Imperial-related music from A New Hope and stuck it in as the Bad Batch snuck around the base's hallways, which is perfect. The music didn't go full-on Imperial March, one of the most recognizable musical themes ever. We're still transitioning to that version of the Empire, so the music doesn't go that far. Instead, we get more subtle but still very recognizable Imperial motifs, and I loved that choice. There is a little bit of hesitation about going into the base at first, but that gives Echo a chance to be the voice of reason, calling out how similar this situation is to his own rescue from Skako Minor. I wish they had gone even farther. I still don't think Tech or Echo have had enough focus in the show, but I will gladly take any scene like this to give him more to do, and I appreciated how much he vouched for Rex, placed his trust in his old friend, and convinced the others to do the same. I like that the entire season he has been more on the side of Omega. He doesn't like being a mercenary, he prefers helping others. The batch breaks the clone out of his cell, which turns out to be Gregor. I've been saying since the show's premise was announced that I hope to see clones like Gregor and Wolf appear to join up with Rex. We're seeing more and more clones start to pull away from the Empire and their inhibitor chips, and they're all going to need help deserting, so this is exactly the kind of story I've been excited to see. Although I also wanted to learn how Gregor survived the events of the D-Squad arc of the Clone Wars, but hey, if somehow is good enough for Palpatine, I guess somehow is good enough for him too. He simply says he survived an explosion once. Okay, at least it was acknowledged and in a funny way. A cameo I was not expecting was Scorch, one of the Republic commandos from Delta Squad. We haven't seen him in 10 years since the Clone Wars episode Witches of the Mist. All 4 members of Delta Squad cameoed in that episode after first appearing in the video game Republic Commandos. I've had people asking if they could appear in the series, and I've been pretty skeptical that they would. Basically, I thought the Bad Batch was taking their role within Star Wars as the badass clone team sent on special assignments, but I did agree that Delta Squad would be formidable enemies for Clone Force 99 if they ever did show up. And I'm so happy to be mostly wrong and a little bit right, because Scorch was awesome. He proved to single-handedly be difficult to take down, and he's still alive, so he and the others could show up later in the series. Although if that happens, it would be a nice touch if Sev were missing. We learned that about 50 clone commandos have been taken to Darrow to train stormtroopers, and man do I like what they're doing with them so far. I've been guessing the series might rush through that transition, and that the season finale could be the big bombshell where we see stormtroopers and TIE fighters and Imperial-class Star Destroyers just kind of rip the band-aid off and get there. But I really dig seeing some new in-between stormtrooper armor. If I'm not mistaken, it seems to be based on Ralph McQuarrie's initial concept art for A New Hope, which is a nice touch, and something Star Wars animation has done a lot in the past. But I also loved that they were definitely stormtroopers, missing their shots, going so far as to even kill one of their own clone commandos on accident. It lines up so well with legend stories where clones trained stormtroopers but always looked down on them. Gregor has a line about how it wouldn't be very smart of them to give away all their secrets, so I definitely think the clones aren't fully invested in training their inferior replacements. The batch are able to escape with Gregor, but unfortunately have to leave Hunter behind. So now it really feels like we're in the first season's endgame. The third to last episode of Star Wars Rebels' first season also ended with the capture of a main character, Kanan, which became the focus for the final 2 episodes. So if I had to guess, the next episode will be about formulating a plan to get him back, and then the finale will be his rescue. I'm guessing next week they'll put a team together. Let's bring Rex back and see what he was up to during this whole adventure, because it sounds like he could use some help as well. Maybe Cut and Gregor will join them. Heck, even Sid, who knows? Having Roland somehow help would be a good connection to last week. It seems like Hunter is being held on Darrow, but I would really like to have him relocated to Kamino. The Empire is pulling out of the planet, but I could see them needing to use their facilities to maybe try to put a new chip in Hunter or something, which would be high emotional stakes. But since most of the military forces have left, it would be a good place for the batch to swoop in and rescue him, and thematically it would just be cool to see them have to go home one more time. And it means Omega has to be brave and face her greatest fear in order to save Hunter, which of course she would be willing to do, but ever since Hunter promised she would never have to go back there, I've been waiting for them to have to go back there. And speaking of Kamino, yeah, the Empire is abandoning the planet. Lama Su was right, sensing that they would not be allowed to stay in operation or even survive. Rampart has him killed right at the end of the episode, but he keeps Nala Se, which I was not expecting. He says they have need of scientists, and obviously the Empire keeps on cloning, or they try to. I still don't think they're gonna have Kaminoan expertise for long. I think Nala Se will probably die saving Omega or something, which will leave the Imperials on their own. I'm just really into the idea of seeing the planet one more time. We've only ever seen the Kaminoan facilities crowded with clone troopers. The first episode of this series showed new clones still being produced. It would be chilling and a little bit sad to have to go back and wander around with it all empty. No clones training, no clones in the mess hall, empty cloning tubes, just nothing. It would really hammer home that this is the end of the Clone Wars era, not to mention be emotional for the batch to say goodbye to the only place they've ever called home. But yeah, there were a lot of big developments for the series in War-Mantle. What a fun episode. And one more moment I wanted to call out is Gonki getting some time to shine. The ship needs power and the walking battery saves the day. He also gets electrocuted, but I'm sure he's fine. He'd better be fine. It was just cool seeing every member of the batch contribute to the mission, even their droid. But that's it for today. Let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page where we're doing audio commentaries and video reactions for every episode. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.